Hi, Meredith.
Hi, Kimberly.
What are you doing?
I don't,
You
I
weirdo.
don't, I don't really know.
I think that's a good time to plug that we have videos now. And
Oh,
if you
yeah.
want to watch our mildly awesome podcast on YouTube, you can.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to look at this ugly mug every day?
We're wearing the
listen.
same color right now.
Oh my God. We're so cool.
It was unplanned.
Great minds.
Mm-hmm.
They think alike.
Do they?
Or so I'm told. I don't know.
Do you remember? Never mind. Anytime I hear that, it makes me think of It's Good
The
to Know.
20. Oh,
Like, it was like NBC or CBS or ABC had like, it was like great minds think alike. And it was like, no, great minds think differently. Do you
no, but
remember this?
I don't, but I like that. I immediately thought that you said, do you remember? And then you were like, that immediately makes me think of, yep. It's like, the 21st night of September.
That song then makes me think of the YMCA, and the YMCA you can't do without the,
Yeah.
so cool. Do you have anything at the top of the hour that you would like to talk about on our show?
No.
Okay, good.
I don't think so.
Cool.
Nope. I'm just going to let the thoughts come up as we talk. Per usual.
Meredith picks her nose on camera, just so you know.
I mean, isn't that what the people want?
Is it?
I'm going to pretend yes, so I can
Okay.
justify continuing to do it.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Would you like to change the subject and tell me what we're talking about today?
Sure, Meredith. Sure, I will.
Oh,
I have some notes here.
I like
Okay.
notes. Not really. I like winging it, but
I know you do.
hey, has it steered me wrong so far? Don't answer that. Please read me your notes.
At the advice of my counsel, I will enact my Fifth Amendment right. I wanted to talk about this article that I read. It was like the author wrote it and was like looking just right at me. And I was like, okay, well, wow.
Wow, are
Weird.
you watching me? That's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah. This article was called How to Make Good Enough Decisions. And it is by Amanda E. White, and she is an LPC. What that is, I'm not quite sure. I think she's like some kind of therapy counselor or licensed. You're going to Google that for me? Thank you.
Yep, you keep talking. I'm going to do a quick Google search.
And this was published on the preamble. It's Sharon Says So. I don't know if you follow her on Instagram, but she's like America's government teacher and she's amazing. This is her.
Not. Oh,
This is
licensed
her.
professional counselor.
Oh, okay. I don't exactly know what that means, but the article specifically talks about decision making and the common trap that we find ourselves in, which is we have to make the perfect choice. And sometimes this happens with like big decisions, but this can also happen with smaller decisions. But usually this is like one of those things that applies to like big decisions. So in this article, she is advocating for making good enough decisions when you find yourself in this like paralysis of like, I can't make a decision.
I love this for so many reasons.
Yeah. So I'm going to link to the article in our show notes. So if you want to go read it, you can. But like, we're going to dissect it and talk about it now. I have a couple quotes that like really hit me in the fucking feels. So, whatever.
Let's do it. I almost cried on the last episode, so bring it. Bring it.
I think that this will make you feel called out a little, maybe. I don't know.
All right. Well, it's easy to do. But
I felt called out by Amanda E. White, LPC.
All right, Amanda, calm down.
Okay, so one of the first points that she makes in the article is that decision paralysis comes from looking for guarantees. People are avoiding making a decision because they want certainty about the future. So happiness, They want to know that there's no regret. They want to make sure that they're not going to fail. And so you find yourself kind of like not making a decision. Then you end up researching even more, or you second guess, or you don't do anything. In this article, she talks about the fact that she's like reading the same Reddit thread that she's read before. And she's like, I've read this so many times. Like, I recognize usernames and all this stuff. Cause she's like, I couldn't make a decision, but I'm keep trying to gather more information as if that's going to sway me one way or the other. And she said, we're not actually looking for advice. We're looking for a guarantee.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the human brain doesn't like the unknown. Every decision comes with liability. I mean, there is a big wide scale of
Right.
what it could be, but
Do
yeah,
I run
like
this person over or not?
high liability.
Yeah.
Do I switch my dog's food? Low liability. Maybe not this
Maybe.
age, but yeah. Um, trying to give an immediate example, but yeah.
But have you ever found yourself in this where you're like rereading the same articles, the same advice, and you can't take action?
Yeah, I have so many work examples, but like medical stuff. When I moved and I was having extreme like health anxiety and was just looking at every possible thing happening with my body. Do you know how many Reddit threads I read? Like, I know everything there is to know about anxiety. And it was just like, am I overreacting? Do I actually need to do anything about it? It like, that's just like the example that comes to mind. But like, do I buy a new car? My lease is coming up. Do I stay in the same apartment? Do I move to a new apartment? Like, anyways, please give me your examples.
I think my biggest example that I can think of was deciding whether or not to get a hysterectomy or not. That was
yes.
one that just like fucking years of just reading the same things over and over and over. And I was looking for a guarantee that that going through this procedure and eliminating my fertility was going to improve my quality of life. Like, is it actually going to be worth it? And I spent months in therapy, like working through it. And we were just having the same conversation over and over again. And then I got to the point where I made the decision and worked through the things that were preventing me from doing that. But I also like ran into this when I was trying to get a new car. So last summer, after my dog passed away, I was like, I want an EV. And
That was last summer?
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyways.
It was like Labor Day weekend.
Feels like fucking yesterday.
And I remember being on this roller coaster of like trying to decide, like I ran all of the numbers and like, should we go do it now? Should I wait? Should we? And it's like, I was looking for a guarantee that yes, this is the right decision. Like, is it the right decision to like sell this car that I have and it wasn't paid off, but is it better to keep it and wait till the wheels fall off or lease this car for a little while? And being in limbo and unable to like make a decision is fucking exhausting.
Well, yes, but sometimes like there are imposed like time limits, which help/hurt. Like sometimes it might result in making an impulsive decision, or sometimes it might help you. It just depends. If you take the example of me moving here for the job, if I didn't have a deadline, that was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made in my life. And I wasn't doing it alone. I was not only affecting a huge change on my life, I was affecting a huge change on my partner's life. And so it's like, well, now there's twice the liability if we move. Like, what if we fucking hate it? And I had 3 days to decide. And yeah, because like it's a job offer and that like they need to fill this position.
Right.
It was already going to take time for me to move. Like, I got to let them know yes or no. Otherwise, they got to move on to the next person, which I totally understand. But holy shit, the amount of articles I read about the state of Washington, I never
in that 3-day period.
Yeah, never underestimate the benefits of a pro-con list.
Yes.
I just finally was like, okay, pro-con list about between Washington and Colorado. Like, and ultimately, obviously, I ended up here, and I do not regret it at all, but I don't know if my decision would have been the same if I had had longer to think about it. Like,
Right.
on paper, I was like, "What the fuck is stopping me?" And because my partner at the time was willing to do it, I was like, "Fuck yeah, let's go." And yeah, maybe I would have made a different decision if I had had longer to think about it, so
But sometimes having those deadlines.
pushes you in the right direction.
Yes. In this article, Amanda E. White, LPC, makes a point that there is no right decision. Basically, ever. There are very few times where when you're deciding between something, there's a right and like wrong, unless it's like running someone over with your car. There are very few instances in which it's
That
right
was the right
versus wrong.
decision?
Yeah.
Okay.
But there still are some instances where it might be the right decision.
Yeah. No, I call moving here the right decision, but, like, would it have been wrong if I had stayed? No. Like, I would have been fine. My
Right.
life would be different, but I don't think that my life would have been bad. It just would have been different. I'm thankful for the decision that I made, but it doesn't make it the right one.
Right. My therapist and I have talked about making decisions and making them right. Instead of worrying about making the right
Ooh,
decision, it's making a decision and making it right. And it's
tell me
like,
more.
so her idea is that when you have two decisions or two options and you're not quite sure which one you want, or they both have pros, they both have cons, at some point you just have to pick one, as opposed to living in limbo, because you're not making progress until you decide. And so she's like, pick one and make it right. And it's like, I don't want to do that, but it can work. She was talking to me about that because I was trying to decide between selling my condo, furnishing it again, or getting rid of all of the furniture and just renting it long term. And she's like, oh, so we like walk through like all of the options, and because like I have such a hard time making decisions sometimes. So it's like she's like, eventually you got to make a decision to make it right. And it's like,
Yeah. So, like, make the decision and then stand by the decision that you made and just
yes, and make it
do
work.
yeah, and just do the best with whatever the outcome is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So back to this article, she's arguing that most major decisions don't have a fixed right answer or even a wrong choice. And what matters most is how you respond afterwards. So like, I guess that's one of those, like, where you said when you moved, you now feel like that was the right choice and you were good with it.
Yeah.
But I think you would have been good with staying in Colorado too.
Yeah, my family's there. I had a good support system of friends, and I don't think it would have been the wrong thing. But, like, also, I made the decision to come here, and then my life circumstances changed, and I moved to a city that I didn't expect that I was going to live in, and I had a roommate, and um my boss quit, so I had an opportunity to promote. And also, there was a time where I didn't have any fucking friends because I hadn't met anyone yet.
Yeah.
And so there was a time where it was like, I can sit here and feel sorry for myself and say that this was the wrong decision, or I can go for this job. I can get on Bumble BFF and try to make some fucking friends,
Uh-huh.
and I can make the best of the situation that I'm in. And look at me now.
So you took that decision and you made it right.
Yes, I was in a shitty spot and I could have just felt bad for myself. I could have moved back home,
Yeah.
but I made that decision the right decision.
Well, and there are times where the wrong decision can be beneficial. So if you had come here and you tried it out and you said, I actually don't like this. What's wrong with you moving back home?
Absolutely nothing. That could have
Nothing.
been an alternative.
Like
And
maybe it was expensive, and inconvenient, but you learned something, you tried something, you stepped out of your comfort zone.
yeah, and like that would have been that story's version of making it right. There's nothing wrong with that either. I just chose to make this one the right one this way. And yeah, again, going back wouldn't have been the wrong thing. And I think that everyone's version of making it right is different.
Mhm. Yep. Also, we have such a harsh view of failure of like if you move somewhere and you're like, we didn't like it, and then you move back, we're like, oh, bad. But it's like, what's wrong with that? I mean, I know it's costly from a financial standpoint, but
No, I've said that. Like coming out here was a big deal and it's the first time I'd ever like made a life decision like that. And in the beginning when like the decisions started coming up of like if I wanted to stay or not, I did view it as a failure if I went back. I was like, well, that means that I didn't succeed at this job and I didn't succeed at being on my own somewhere. And I do think that thought process fueled me to make the decisions that I made. But, you learn and you grow. And looking back, if I had gone home, it wouldn't have been the wrong decision. But at the time, it just felt like I was not doing myself justice if I didn't at least give it a chance, give it more of a chance than I gave it.
yeah, totes. I'm proud
Anyways,
of
now I
you.
am going to start crying. So can we talk about something else?
I'm
No.
proud of you. Like that's huge. The fact that you were like, yeah, I'm going to do it, and you did it. But back to the article, she talks about the cost of not deciding. So avoiding decisions isn't consequence free. Like it's draining. It drains time. It drains energy. It can drain opportunities. It can make you doubt yourself and your ability to make a decision, or like
And
trust
depending on who's
yourself.
in, yeah, sorry. And depending on who's involved, it can affect not just you, but other people.
Totally. And then the article highlights that not deciding is in itself a decision, and it's the decision to be stuck. And it's probably the least helpful one because you're anxious, you're nervous, like you're spending all of this mental energy deciding or trying to decide. You're doing all of this research and blah, blah, blah. And as she says in this article, this is a quote. It says, when you don't decide, you don't have to be responsible for the outcome. And that's what we're avoiding, is we're avoiding becoming responsible for the outcome.
Ooh, I've done this. I was, as you were talking about it, I was trying to think of an example, and this isn't the example I wanted to use, but it is an easy one.
Tell me. Tell me.
Relationships.
Oh,
How many times have I stayed in a relationship a lot longer than I should have because it was easier to not make the decision. It was
mm-hmm.
easier to be in a situation that I was more comfortable in and not think about the consequences of what would happen if I left.
Yeah, it's staying in the known versus the unknown.
Yes. And like, I don't say that to shit on any of my exes. Like, there are multiple things that can happen. You are with someone and you start to grow apart, or the longer you're with someone, you realize like you guys don't see eye to eye on as many things as you thought. But then it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, then you get to that point of, well, am I okay with overlooking a lot of these things? Or do I end it? And now am I okay with not only severing this relationship, but potentially others, like losing family and like
Mm-hmm.
losing a living situation? There are consequences on both ends. And
Yep.
so, yeah, I have probably stayed in relationships years longer than I needed to.
Yeah. And that in of itself is often the time when we're most unhealthy,
Hmm.
is during that indecision phase. I can think of countless examples from friends, family, when you haven't made a decision, and it just becomes really taxing. So,
I was going to say, you're putting an unnecessary level of stress on yourself. I think at that point, you're just going through the motions because you still have like that in the back of your mind at all times.
mhm. Yep. So another point that she makes is knowing when you've got enough information to make a decision. Sometimes we disguise indecision as research. So we think we don't have enough information to make the decision, or we like to tell ourselves that we don't have enough information, but actually we do. She gives some advice on when you know that you have enough information to decide. And she says there's three things. You can clearly articulate your fears, you understand your values, and you understand the practical realities of your options.
Okay.
And then this quote stood out to me. And she says, "You're never going to feel 100% sure. I quit my job and started my practice when I realized a greater part of me wanted it than didn't. I figured if companies can make decisions with a majority stake, even just 51%, that should be good enough for me." So then that got me thinking. I was like, well, wait a second. How much does the Senate or the House need to make a decision? The Senate needs 51% majority. There's 100 members. They only need 51 of them to make shit happen. And it's the same with the House of Representatives. There are times when you have to have a quorum, which is a minimum number of participants for a vote to be held.
Okay.
But I think that only has to be half of them.
Oof.
Like,
And they're deciding far more important things than if I need to move to Washington or not.
right. Right. And even the things that require a supermajority, like overriding presidential vetoes, proposing constitutional amendments, and expelling a member of Congress, those only require a 2/3 vote. That's 75%. So if I'm 51% sure that like this is the right decision, well, then
It's good
maybe that's
enough.
enough. But I find myself often looking for the 100% certainty.
Yeah. We're afraid of the consequences of our actions.
Mm-mm.
And I think that's just human nature and survival when
Yeah,
it
I
comes
think
down to it.
well, and I think there's some people who are more sensitive to that than others. There are some people who are just like, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm going to do this thing. And if it doesn't work out, then okay. And then there's other people who are a little more risk averse, and that might be us. I don't know.
I so I think that's a good point because as we were talking, I was thinking about like these are like big practical life decisions.
Hmm.
But I think about being a dispatcher and how many decisions you have to make in such a short amount of time and the liability that comes with all of those decisions. That's terrifying when you really think about it. But it, the reason they're able to do it is they're trained to do it. So you experience the same thing over and over again. So you get
Hmm.
better at making those decisions and you trust yourself a little bit more. But that is the perfect example of why people can't do a job like that because I've met many people that cannot do that job. And that does not make them bad people. That doesn't mean they didn't want to. That doesn't mean they didn't try. But some people are not comfortable in the unknown.
Hmm.
And you have to be able to make those split-second decisions based on the knowledge that you have to trust that
Hmm.
that you did the best you could with the information that you had. And not everyone can do that. And again, I feel like I'm making it sound like I'm some amazing person because I could do that. It's just a difference in people's operating system. That's it. Like I have the ability to like make impulsive decisions. So I
Well, but okay, but that comes down to the deadline thing. Like, you didn't have time to sit and think about those decisions.
yes.
Like, some of them had to be made quickly, and you can do that under that amount of pressure. You're fine. But, there's a lot of things in life that don't have deadlines. Like, I also respond really well to a deadline. If somebody's like, well, you got to have this thing done by this time, or you got to be at this appointment. Okay, great.
I
Then
can
I will be there.
if there's no deadline, I'm fucked. It's
Yeah.
not getting done. Sorry, I didn't mean
Same.
to interrupt you. But
Same.
again, like I think that's why I excelled in dispatch. It's because if I have that deadline and if I have to do it quickly, I can do it. But
Hmm.
if I had, 24 hours to think about how I would respond to a call, do you know how many possible scenarios you could come up with to the like with the amount of information that you're given on a 911 call, there are so many scenarios that could come out of that.
Yeah, I
So,
always have wondered, like, how does dispatch know, like, which questions to ask? Because, like, sometimes you hear these 911 calls and you're like, "That's not a question that I would have asked." Like, it's like, "Hmm,
different different things. So first of all, different types of calls. Um, police, fire, and EMS. There are companies that provide medical based information and questions, and it's like those choose your own adventure books where it's like if they say this, then you move to this question. If they say this, you move to this question. It's very outlined, and a lot of them are reading from a script depending on the type of call. With medical calls, it's easier to do. With police calls, there's a lot more gray area,
mhm,
and it's those questions are based on experience and the most likely outcome of those calls. So what you're really asking is just the major stuff that you know could potentially turn into something dangerous, and then going from there based on what someone tells you. So you
mm."
always get like name, location, are there weapons involved? Is anybody hurt? Like you deal with the high liability stuff first. And then once you get all of that out of the way, sometimes it's fluff. Sometimes you're staying on the phone with someone
You're just,
until
like,
someone
asking them
gets
what
on
kind of
scene.
pizza they like because you wanna keep them talking?
Hmm.
Interesting. Hmm.
That's your down and dirty version of what happens. And also, keep in mind, I haven't been a dispatcher in 5 years, but
I imagine it
I
hasn't
was one for
changed.
10 years. So,
Yeah, I imagine it hasn't changed much. Um, and then the last thing in my notes is the exercise that she recommends. I haven't tried this, but it sounded interesting. She shares this exercise of splitting a page down the middle and saying costs and payoffs. And you do this twice. You do it once for the change. So like if the decision was you're trying to decide whether to keep your car or sell it and lease an EV, I would do a sheet for the change, which would be buying a new EV, and then I would do it once for everything stays the same.
oh, okay. So, like a different version of a pro con list.
Yeah, it's like a pro con list, but you're making one for each decision, not just the decision you're trying to make. You're making a list for also staying the same. So like in
Okay.
in your case of moving to Washington, you would make one for a pro con list for moving to Washington, and then you would make a pro con list for staying.
Okay. I like that.
S- And then what you do with that, I don't know. Maybe it will become more clear after you've done the exercise of like, okay, I do want this or I don't, but because I haven't done it yet.
Can I give some different types of examples?
Yes.
So, when you first mentioned it, I immediately thought about work, and it's again more of like a logistical standpoint and not a like big life decision standpoint.
Hmm.
But this comes up a lot. Like funding can be a big issue, and like there's not an unlimited amount of money. I have a budget just like everyone else. And sometimes our systems are degraded or things need to be updated, and you have to make the right decision of what to update. And I think sometimes people get caught in this decision paralysis of, well, if I can't update this thing, then it's broken. Like the way that it is operating now is just not good enough. And we don't look at a middle ground. Like, let's say you have a software and it doesn't do all of the bells and whistles, it does the bare minimum. And you say, well, because I don't have the millions of dollars to upgrade this software, then like we're just fucked in the meantime because it just does the bare minimum. Just learn the system the best way that you can and see how much you can get out of the system that you have. I feel like sometimes people just say like, well, if I can't get the new thing, then we're just gonna, like, we're stuck in this holding pattern and like we can't fix anything. And I don't think that's true. I think we can go back to like the 51% thing. Like sometimes you can make a decision with what you have and just improve upon that. Let's like learn the system to the best of its ability and use every facet of it instead of saying it's not got all the bells and whistles, so it can't do the job. I've had like previous supervisors just be like, well, we can't change the shitty situation that we're in because we can't upgrade this thing. It's like, really? You're telling me that there's not a single other option than this super expensive fancy software? Like we can't find some middle ground? We can't use like other tools at our disposal to make our situation better. There is this all or nothing attitude. And I think that can apply to more than just the programs at my job. I think, like, let's just use something stupid. A water bottle. Let's say you can't afford a Stanley water bottle, so you don't buy a water bottle because it's not the best one.
Right.
Is that really the best option? Or can you just find a middle ground?
Right. Just if you need a water bottle, get the best one that you can afford. Or go and buy a plastic one.
Yeah. That was the only point I wanted to make with that. That's how I try to manage my team, is like, let's make the best with what we've got instead of just acting like the sky is falling all the time.
Yeah. So when you're faced with a decision, it doesn't have to be black and white. There's some gray area. And if you're having trouble with it, maybe finding that gray area might help a little bit.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I
like
think that's
that.
fair. And sometimes that makes it worse. But, whatever.
True. But like, at least I can say that, we didn't just sit there and do nothing about it. Like we tried. And then, now we know that that's not the way to do that thing.
Yes. There are so many times where people look at something and they're like, this is black and white. And you're like, well, we could be creative and come up with some other solutions. And they're like, no. And you're like, okay.
What's that? Sorry, this is going to sound super nerdy. Did you ever watch the movie National Treasure?
Yeah, I was actually just looking at a poster of it the other day.
Love that movie. Seen it way too many times. But there's a line in there where Nicolas Cage's character is like, Thomas Edison tried and failed hundreds of times to make a light bulb, but he only needed one way to make it work. And I'm sure I just butchered that fucking line, but like, what if he didn't keep trying?
So he fucked up for 1,000 times, but it only took one extra try
to make it work.
One
way. I want to know what the actual line is so I don't butcher this. Edison light bulb quote. Wow, it's the first thing that comes up. So he quotes Thomas Edison. I have not failed 1,000 times. I have successfully discovered 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb. Or I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work.
That works. I guess it's a frame of mind.
Yeah, just different perspectives. Glass half empty or half full.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's
so
all.
That was all I have.
That's a great topic. I like that.
Thank you. I will link to the article in our show notes so that if people want to read it. But I feel like I did a really good job, like giving a book report.
I think you did.
And giving the Cliff Notes version. So you're fucking welcome.
You did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a perfect example of what happens when you make a good outline and what happens when you just wing it. Just look back at the previous episode and you can see the differences. Okay.
We can. So on that note, that's all I have for you. And if you have thoughts on this topic, you can send them to us. You can send us a message on Instagram at Mildly Thriving Pod, or you can use the texting feature and send us a text. I'm not sure if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm not sure that really works, but whatevs.
You can comment.
So follow us on Instagram at Mildly Thriving Pod.
Hey.
Yeah. So.
And remember that if you're having a hard time making a decision, that
mildly thriving is thriving enough.
Yeah.
That was great.
Hell yeah.
High five. Yeah. All right.
All right.
Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, bye.